Survival horror in gaming has been around for decades, and despite a few zombie-sized bumps in the road, fans keep coming back for more. Here at the International Gaming Expo Gamescom in Germany, two of the series' biggest titles, Resident Evil and Silent Hill, are back with their new games, Silent Hill F and Resident Evil Requiem. So I've been here all week asking the fans and the people behind the games, how is survival horror surviving and why do the fans love it so much?
I just enjoy the experience playing the games yourself. Like, it's something different than just going into a movie and watching a film. You're actually responsible of the actions you take in the game, and I like getting scared.
I really like the atmosphere. I like the tension when it's going so hard and screamers.
The deep message behind the games, the storyline, everything is very exciting and always a challenge too.
My name is Moto Okamoto. I'm a series producer for Silent Hill.
My name is Al Yang, and I'm the game director for Silent Hill F. Nice to meet everybody.
I wanted to know first, what have the challenges been when this is such a well-known series in working on this game, and also trying to make it feel really modern?
So for us, I think one of the biggest hurdles we had to overcome was reaching the point where we managed to finalize our concept, which was finding the beauty in terror. But once that came about, once that manifested, we thought it went fairly smoothly.
The major other hurdle we had to overcome here is because it's been a very long time since a new Silent Hill title, is that we had to make sure we captured the essence and, most importantly, the atmosphere of classic Silent Hill titles, but at the same time update and kind of modernize some of the combat and some of the gameplay for a new generation of players that might have never played a Silent Hill title before.
Where did the idea of setting it in Japan come from? Because obviously the other games are mostly set in America. So where did that idea come from?
I believe that for many of the old games, they had always taken place in the same locale of the town and its surroundings. We felt that it was starting to wear down, so we felt that we needed to breathe new life into it, and the way we did that was by introducing new locales. Like, for example, with Silent Hill The Short Message, it took place in Germany. And for Silent Hill F, we decided to take that trip down to Japan.
Another key part about this is Silent Hill has always been about kind of that uneasy atmosphere. You're not quite sure what's going on there. So actually bringing this to Japan actually helped us out culturally in the matter. I always like to talk about this in terms of the school. We have everybody from every culture knows what a school is. But if you don't know, you might not know what a Japanese school might be like set in the countryside. And then to add to that, it's a 1960s Showa era Japan. So that there's that extra layer of time where, well, I know what a phone is, but I might have not used a rotary style phone before. It's like, oh, this is obviously a car, but not in the way I'm quite familiar with. So it's two extra layers of unfamiliarity that we can layer on top for the players.
And you know, some people have been looking at this and comparing it quite surprisingly for a Silent Hill game to a game like Dark Souls, because you've obviously got dodging, you've got sort of the repairability of your tools, like you were talking about, it wears down with time. But I mean, what would you say to comparisons like that?
We can definitively say on this point that Silent Hill F is not a Souls-like game. It is a new gameplay experience that interweaves both horror and action elements.
And I kind of want to add to that. I think Souls-like is a term that for this generation gets thrown around a lot, is because this
it really does,
yes.
yeah.
A lot of players kind of first brush with this type of action game. There is Souls-likes, for instance. And for us, it's like we see, it's like, oh, you have stamina management, you have a dodge, it's automatically a Souls-like. But honestly, when we looked at the combat, we went back to a lot of the classic Silent Hill titles. For instance, Silent Hill 4 had charge in it, for instance. Silent Hill 3 had stamina management with Heather. You wouldn't unlock the bar until later, but these are kind of like resources you always had to control in traditional horror games. So for us, as we're saying, it's like, it's not a Souls-like, it's purely just action horror.
What do you think makes a game a Silent Hill game, and in what ways would you say F is that kind of game?
Is definitely its psychological horror aspect, and that is something that the scriptwriter for the game, Ryukishi07, has masterfully woven into the game. So it includes both Hinako herself, her psychological torments, as well as the relationships that she has with her family and her friends. All of these play into Hinako's psyche, which creates a very quintessentially Silent Hill experience.
My name is Masato Kumazawa. I'm the producer of Resident Evil Requiem. Hi, I'm Koshi Nakanishi and I'm the director of Resident Evil Requiem.
Next year, Resident Evil the series has its 30th anniversary. How have you found keeping that series feeling fresh with this game? Has it been a challenge, and how have you overcome that?
Yeah, it's been almost 30 years, as you say, since the first game came out. In all that time, though, gaming hardware has really developed and evolved alongside the series. So I think that even after all these years, the latest hardware lets us bring such high-level visuals and presentation to players that as long as we can keep coming up with fresh ideas, I think we can keep presenting really fun and fresh games even after all this time.
Let's talk about the main character, Grace, and why you decided to start off this story with her. Why was she the focus point for this one?
I think if you've played the demo already, you'll see that Grace is quite a normal person. She's not an action hero. She's actually quite terrified of the situation that she's been thrown into. And we chose her as this kind of character because I think it lets players relate to her. Because you're also scared, and you're going to feel scared on her behalf and think, she looks kind of defenseless. Like, will she actually get through this experience? And I think that really gives you an emotional connection with the character that really puts you in her shoes, and that's how you really experience horror, is being scared on the character's behalf.
Let's talk a bit about Raccoon City. When the police department came up on the trailer, everyone got really excited. They know that Raccoon City is very Resident Evil. How much will we be able to explore Raccoon City? Will we be able to see those kind of areas that we know?
I'm sure it's a very long-awaited experience for fans to finally return to the iconic Raccoon City, and exactly what awaits there and which locations you can visit, we're still remaining a bit tight-lipped about because we don't want to spoil the experience for fans. But rest assured, I think that all those Resi players who know all the lore back to front and they want to catch up with this iconic location, you won't be disappointed by the experience of returning to Raccoon City in this game.
Another big thing about Resident Evil games is that replayability. I wondered what elements, as much as you can say, we would see in this game, because I think fans really love that element of the series, that you can go back and replay it, and with different characters and things like that, or different endings and so on.
Yeah, we know how much the fans love to replay and re-experience the titles. I think we've already got a great feature built into the game for that purpose, which is the changeable camera perspective. So there's two different kinds of experience waiting for you. If you play in first-person perspective, you feel that much closer to the horror, and it's very immersive and scary. Whereas if you then replayed the whole game again on third-person perspective, for example, you'll be able to see Grace as a character on screen. As you said before, you can really emotionally relate to her, and we've made lots of tweaks so that when you're playing in third person, she'll have certain animations and reactions that don't happen in first person perspective to let you really relate to the character. So in a way, you're already kind of getting two goes around for one in the game.
Finally, some years ago, that people were worried that the series and survival horror in general was becoming more action-based. It was maybe losing its focus. Do titles like Requiem show that is coming back? The genre's stronger than ever?
Yeah, for sure. The recent trend in the series with Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil Village, which are the two most recent titles, has been somewhat towards more of an action blend with horror. And as you will know if you've played the demo here at Gamescom, it's very much a horror first experience. Like it's terrifying. And this is kind of our message. We're throwing down the gauntlet to players to say that the horror focus is firmly it's back and it's still possible, and that you're definitely going to have your wits scared out by this game. With that said, for anyone who's like, that's too scary for me, that's not for me, I think you can rest assured that we are going to throw in the variety of gameplay styles that people love from the series. So exploring, backtracking, puzzle solving, gunplay, action. All of the things you know and love from Resident Evil are still in there alongside the horror. So don't think that it's just going to be horror from start to finish and be too exhausting to play. Like, there's definitely something in there for every kind of Resident Evil fan.